Hey, I'm Susanna Lanier, actor and acting coach for over 25 years.
I'm Jess Greenberg, casting director for over 10 years.
We're here to help you navigate this crazy, creative, and sometimes chaotic journey into the film and television world.
We share our insights as to what works.
And invite some pretty spectacular guests to share more ideas to move you on your journey.
So without further ado, let's get into the show.
Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with the talented Deutschman and Katy Breier. They are both successful actresses and also a sought-after writing duo, having sold numerous screenplays. Welcome!
Hello! Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
we're so
we're
excited to
happy
be
you're
here.
here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Okay, we'll get into it.
I like being referenced as sought after writing duo. I feel like we should put that in our bio.
Put that on our.
Well, you are.
We're very sought after.
Yeah, it just feels weird to say it yourself.
I
know.
All right, so before you became this sought after writing duo, you started out acting.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you start acting? I know it for both of you was quite young.
Erica, you start.
I officially start like professionally or like for the fun, because for the fun, in my grandma's living room when I was like 4, but I don't think I started till I was 18 for real, because they said you needed a chaperone and my parents worked, so I just waited. Oh, and they said when you were a kid, this is for all kids out there, they were like, if you have any other activities on the go, like forget it. Acting's gonna take over your life. So I was really into ballet, and I would do like a production of the Nutcracker every year. And so I don't remember what agent I spoke to, but they were like, forget it. Give up on that dream if you want to be an actor. So 18 is the official number.
Right. But Erica, you did start taking class because you were in my class at 16. I remember in my living room when I just started teaching. And you had already taken classes and you were only 16 with Jacqueline McClintock, who only took adults. So you were already like...
Okay, so 16 was when I started my trajectory, my professional trajectory. Yeah. And Jacqueline, I remember, was so funny because she was like, I only take adults. They made an exception because there was an extra space. And then every time I would do anything, she'd be like, she's 16. Can you believe how she is? I was like, so embarrassing. She terrified me.
The Katie's turn.
Oh my God. I think I started pretty young. Like, I think it was maybe 13 when I think I was watching all the Harry Potter movies, and I was like, wait, those people are all actors, but they get to like do that like for a job. It's just like be a witch and a wizard. Like, I'm like, that seems like a great job, Mom. I want to do that. And she was like, well, let's see if you're any good. Maybe see if you're good first. So I auditioned for a movie, I think when I was 13, and I ended up getting a role, and it was like just like a short film, but I was like, see, Mom, I'm good. And she's like, no, you're not good yet. Let's see if you can. I don't want you to embarrass yourself. So that's when I think I started doing some musical theater with a community theater group. And she was like, okay, maybe you're good, but like, let's get you in training. And that's when I met Susanna and started taking classes with her. And then my mom was like, fine, I'll get you an agent.
I remember.
Finally.
And you were with Una K.
And
I remember, I can say this, but Katie did a scene and she was 14 and she's still cute, but she was so cute. She was like, I have a picture. It's like red hair, the teeth. She was so cute. I have a picture. It's adorable. But she started it was like, she has this scene and she's crying like in the scene in my living room, because I literally taught in my living room. Yeah. And it was amazing. Like, it was amazing. I was like, wow, she's really good. So it was already, and I remember you were 14 and you looked like you were 11, you know, you looked really young. And
I had a big gap too.
Big gap too. It was adorable. And she was bawling in my living room. And I remember thinking, this girl's really good. Like, she really throws herself into the character. So I
was like a little method actor. Like, I didn't really understand, I think, what acting was. I think I was just really good at like turning into it, really like leaning into the emotion.
Yeah.
And so it didn't even feel like acting. You're not worried about like how you look or like, am I hitting my light? You're just really authentically putting yourself in the situation.
Wow.
And your class was so important because that's how Katy and I met. And
Yes, it's all
like,
because of you.
and it was also why I got my first agent, because you would do your showcase. I'm still with
Yeah.
Chasha. Yeah. So it's funny, like you are very instrumental in our life trajectories.
I'm so happy. It's my favorite stories thanks to my class. This is what happened, you know, especially you two being together writing duo. I love that. I mean,
We
you
have
guys
like
were
10
friends.
children together.
You guys have 10 children together.
Our scripts.
Yeah, but it's amazing. Like it is exciting. It's exciting for me now because I've been doing it 18 years. So people are grow up because
Yeah.
you have no idea. You're just doing your work, teaching, having fun, connecting with people, but you have no idea what the future holds. And now I see it. Like I see
Yeah.
what happens and it's exciting. And I'm so happy you guys, ended up meeting in class and this can happen because I'm going to use you as an example to everybody. You see, you can meet people, get to know each other. Things can happen and you can create stuff on your own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take a class with Susanna and your life will change. That you can put that on the poster.
So I want to talk a little bit now about Toronto. So you guys have moved to Toronto, and do you see any key differences between Montreal and Toronto?
I mean, I think there's a lot of differences.
Okay, good.
But I think it's such a huge pool.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not as intimate. Like you don't necessarily have the same relationships with the casting directors and the other people you're seeing go in for the same roles, which could maybe be a good thing. Like you're not seeing the same person every single time you go in. Not that anyone goes in to audition
Anymore, but before when you guys
Yeah.
started, when you first moved to Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's like a little bit of a different, like it's more intimate in Montreal and a bit more like interconnected and I feel like it's just a lot more like Montreal felt like there was like a little family you can get to know, like of actors and casting directors and coaches, and here it feels much more like
Well, there's just a lot more of everything.
Right.
It's a lot more casting directors generally, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Like it's good if like someone hates you and they're like,
Yeah.
I'll never see you. And it's like if that was the only person, then you'd never work. But you know, and like in Montreal, you know, it's just there's just not as much, there just aren't as many. So that's a big difference. Like you're kind of seeing the same people more often.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's a lot, like, especially when I first, before I even moved here, I was still living in Montreal and I was taking the megabus. Ugh,
Yeah.
the dreaded megabus back and forth for auditions. I cannot believe, I wish I could get that money back and that time back. The amount of energy I put into getting on a bus, sometimes twice a week, and shipping myself to Toronto and then like getting ready in a Starbucks bathroom.
Right.
And then going to the audition. Maybe it doesn't go well. And then I have to get back on the bus and like sit with that for the next like 5 hours. Like I cannot believe that I did that. But
there was plenty of time to work on the material.
I've never been more prepared.
Yeah.
But it was like, there's just so much more going on here that I had the time to do it. And it made sense for me. It just made sense at a certain point because there's just like so many more auditions
Well,
here.
and it depends, like it depends the time. Like I was saying before, it's like there's a lot going on in Montreal, it feels like at certain points. But like when Katy and I left around the same time, and I remember people being like, so why Toronto? And I was like, because I did Blue Mountain State and I did Being Human, and now there's nothing left.
Right.
And you know, obviously stuff comes back and stuff starts up again in Montreal, but there was just a lot more going on in Toronto, especially at the time.
Yeah.
Right. And how was that? I wanted to ask you, Katy, you kind of touched on it. How was that transition then? So you both decided, and I'm guessing you went to Toronto because you felt there was more opportunities and there was more projects going on. So that's why you guys did it. And how was that transition first getting to Toronto and stuff like that, like compared to Montreal? How was the transition?
I mean, I kind of found it exciting, to be honest. I kind of thrive in situations where I have to prove myself.
Okay.
And I liked that I was like, I had been auditioning for like a year, like in Toronto for a year before I moved, but it was just this I got this thrill out of walking in and being like, oh, you're wait till you see me. Wait
Oh,
until I
cool.
knock your socks off. It's like I have maybe a bit of an ego problem, but I really was like, oh, they're about to get a load of something brilliant here. And I think it could have been false confidence. I don't know, but that's just how I took the transition was here, I'm the answer to your prayers. And it really worked out for me in my first year. My first year in Toronto was like, I thought I was going to move temporarily, but then I ended up booking like 3 things and
Wow.
like, right off the bat. And I was like, oh my God, I'm home. I found my market.
My place. Yeah.
And it felt so good. And I mean, then maybe it was a bit of an inflated ego moment because then things just kind of petered out for around a year. But that's the way it works. But that was my transition. Is like I really took it as a challenge.
That's
And
amazing.
New to a city, there people are like, what's that? Like, what's that new thing? Like,
Right.
so people actually are like receptive to seeing new faces. I don't know. Like, it's so funny. Like, what was that? 10 years ago now? I don't know what it's like anymore. Like, I don't know what would happen if I were to move to Toronto now. But at the time, it definitely felt like it wasn't as it's kind of now it feels like some people are like, I can't get in the room, but at the time it was I don't know, it just they wanted to see you and it was like a new young face and so
fresh meat.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So Erica, you got in the room right away also, because that's
like,
not the story. We've had the story of literally people saying like they could not get in the room. They were
No.
being seen and so you guys both were in the room right away.
Like day one, I remember
Wow.
like we moved like for a summer before we
Yeah.
officially moved to Toronto. We were in this house with a couple other actors, including Wyatt Bowen,
Yes.
Jesse Camacho, Christian Hodko.
Wow.
We like
The whole Montreal crew.
That should have been a reality show.
I know.
I know.
This revolving door of us because like we'd all go back to Montreal sometimes, like to work or to visit, and like so like someone would take that bed. It was only a bedroom. Like Wyatt slept on the couch, or no, Jesse slept on the couch the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't want a room. Like okay, whatever.
That's so funny.
But that first summer, I remember like I just signed with my agent and like I think it was like day one. Like I just moved in and I put all my stuff in the closet and I was like, I have 2 auditions today.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great way to learn the city. We didn't realize we were in the suburbs. We had to know where I was like, it's on the subway line. I think it's okay, but it was basically Scarborough.
It was so far.
And but fortunately all the auditions usually were in the East End, so it wasn't that hard to get there, and it was a good way to explore the city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good transition, but again, I feel like for what happened to everyone is the classic thing we were speaking about before we were recording. Like you go to Toronto and then Montreal is like, no, come back here, take a role. You booked something.
Yeah.
And I think that was happening to all of us that first summer. So we rented this house, but we were barely ever there.
Because you were working in Montreal.
Always, yeah.
Which is fine. If I have to move somewhere else, that's totally fine by me.
Yeah, for work. I mean,
yeah, as opposed to the mega bus to go to an audition.
wow.
But also, like, I mean, it's the work that you put in that maybe those auditions that you were seen at that time, you took the time to do that by the time you were there for the summer or when you moved there, you were already familiar to them and they knew they could call you in too. So it just, as terrible as it was, it paid off.
It totally paid off.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, it's great that you were able to tell that story. Say, like, I was taking the bus back and forth. Like, I was dedicated to my craft. I really wanted to book something. So it shows to say, because nobody actually likes to hear a story is like, I don't know, I just self-taped and they booked me and then I got a series lead and then it's been really easy. I don't know why people find it so hard, and you're like, yeah, okay, and off.
I know it's so tricky too, because you really I remember it being really hard to leave Montreal because it's my home and my family, and it's familiar and it's comfortable. But I think sometimes you do need to kind of just take the leap and rip off the Band-Aid, because, you know, I was auditioning for a year and never booking anything. I had a few callbacks, but nothing substantial. And my agent told me, she was like, well, because specifically in Ontario, I think in Quebec too, they really need you to be paying taxes here.
Right.
Like if you're gonna book here, you have to kind of live here.
Right.
And that was a big wake up call for me. I was like, I have to commit. I can't be like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I have to just do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's scary. It was scary. Like I had never lived away from home at that point. But it was definitely helpful that like a lot of our friends were making the move at the same time.
Yeah.
Like Erica had already moved there. So I knew I had one friend, and like it's just, it can be really scary when you do it alone, but I didn't have to do that. And I'm really grateful for that.
And even about this, the whole tax credit thing now, that's not a thing. I haven't run into that lately.
Really?
Maybe for the,
Oh, that's so interesting.
I don't know, maybe for the leads on certain things.
We still get a lot of breakdowns that are like, must pay taxes in Ontario. So
It
Right.
it might be an Ontario thing. They're pretty
Mhm.
intense about it.
True.
Mhm.
Like I think Montreal has, or Quebec has terrible credits now. So
Oh,
probably like,
good to know.
Yeah.
no, I don't know enough about it, but like I'm pretty sure there's no real incentive to
Right.
come.
Well, that almost, like, I know it's bad for people who live in Montreal, but great for us, because that
Yeah.
means we get both markets and we don't have to pay taxes in Quebec to necessarily be considered for roles here. So
Yeah.
Sure. And I
Yeah.
think that with self tapes, like what are the markets? Like you could literally audition for
Yeah.
anything, anywhere at a certain point. Does it
I know,
even
it's true.
matter? Like, so
The only thing I found about, because my parents, like, I still have a residence technically in Montreal, so I'm able to book as a local a lot,
yeah.
which is great, and it's like definitely opened up a lot of doors for me. Does it get a little annoying sometimes? Yes, because sometimes I like, it gets me the role. Like it's an incentive to cast a Toronto person if they have a residence, because then they don't have to put you up.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, in your 30s, you don't want to go and sleep at your parents' house, and like it's just, sometimes it frustrates me that that's such a thing in Montreal, where they're willing to skim, and in Ottawa too. I think they do the same thing in Ottawa. They
Yes.
need to cut costs, so they make the actor kind of pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to ask Katy about the audition process for The Boys, because that is a huge Amazon Prime show. We've had people on who've moved to Toronto and then say, once you get to Toronto, you complain that all the good roles are going to LA. So for you to have booked that is a big, huge deal. And it was a great part. And you were fantastic in it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to hear about that audition process.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally true that these roles usually go to Americans. And what was great about this role is I auditioned with just one small little scene. I had auditioned before for the show, like everyone had, and I booked it, and it was supposed to be just 3 episodes, not a huge role, but I got lucky because they liked the character and they liked what I did, and they actually then expanded it for the next season, which is the dream. I know. And I'm like, even like talking about it, I'm like jinxing myself that it'll never happen again. I'm like, it was like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So it was, that's why the role was as big as it was and wasn't an American. Because even people on the set commented to me, I'm surprised I didn't fly in someone from LA for this. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
I think.
But yeah, no, I think it was luck. That was purely luck.
No, it was luck and talent and hard work. And we love that. That's like our Book the Room story, but we do it for auditions. Have you ever gone in and auditioned something, did really, really well? You didn't get that part, but later on you got called back for, and then ended up booking something bigger. And this is the exact story, but with an actual, I got a small booking that was written, you know, with the local in mind. And because I did great work, they expanded it and turned it into, you know, what it had become, which was like, how many, like 10 episodes it ended up turning into?
It was 10 episodes. Yeah.
Amazing.
Wonderful connections and great experience. Like I can't speak more highly of that, the set and production. It was so much fun. And I remember I kind of was bonded with the story director, the guy kind of overseeing the entire story process.
Mhm.
And he at one point was sitting down with me and he was like, you know, the reason why we decided to expand this is because you were so weird. We weren't expecting what you brought to the role. There was like something unhinged about you. And we were like, we need to see more of this. And I was like, okay, great. Sometimes you take a leap on set, and it was scary because it's a big production. I'm like, I don't know, do I go for it and potentially humiliate myself, or do I just lean into the weird? And in this case, I really paid off that I tapped into my inner crazy person and it worked and it really played out. And so I'm that going forward, it's a lesson for me too. It's like sometimes just trust your gut and make the weird decision, like do something weird and make yourself stand out, I guess.
I love that. That is a perfect actor story. You know what I mean? Like lean into the weird. Either it's going to be bad and you're going to get fired.
Yeah, like that was the risk.
Or you're going to end up with 10 episodes. And that's what you did. So I think it's
played for the character too. Like she was a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think the first, like, what your audition scene was the one about like the bones, like how like
two skeletons. Yeah, the first time you ever meet my character, she's giving this like monologue about what she thinks true love is, and it's these two skeletons holding each other in the tomb. It's like it's forever, which is ironic.
Like,
Spoiler alert.
Weird. That's
so weird. But all the
weird.
characters are weird.
So if you hadn't done that weird, I'd be concerned.
Yeah. Sorry, I should reiterate. Don't go weird just for the sake of being weird. Make sure it's
definitely
supported in this text.
Yeah. And like you trust your gut on it. Like you knew that you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Good acting story. Cool.
Very cool. So you're both working actors. But when did you start to write and join up as a duo? And how did that all happen?
Well, Katy helped me read for a Christmas movie that I did. And how do I say this? We were like, we could do this.
Yeah.
Oh, you auditioned for a Christmas movie and you've done a bunch, no? Like
I've done
a lot of these.
Done a few. This was like my first lead, which was great. But we were inspired by the script. So we were like, we should try this. We should take a stab at it. So I think that then there was a pandemic and we had a lot of time on our hands. So we really like fine-tuned something that we'd been working on that hasn't sold yet, but it was our first project together. And then I don't know if that was used as like a piece of sample writing that our friend got us in touch with a company that then like bought a bunch of our concepts. So, or if it was another script, I don't remember, but it was just like once like they saw like a bit of our writing and they liked our ideas. That's kind of how it's snowballed.
Well, just to backtrack a little, we started like figuring out the format of these movie of the week, like holiday rom-coms. We figured out that there's a formula.
Yeah.
And we're just experimenting. And I think it's important to note that like it's not every day and it's not every person that you can write with. It's actually quite difficult to find a writing partner that you can click with. And I think we realized through writing this initial script that we were like, okay, this works. Yeah. Like we balance each other. I will be pacing the room, reenacting things the characters are doing while Erica is like diligently like writing things down. And we like pass ideas back and forth and we're like, okay, this works. Yeah. And I think our writing chemistry read on the page. And so that's when our friend asked to read it. He liked it. And so he made an introduction to this company called Real One. And they felt the same way. They liked our stuff. And it's kind of all evolved from there. And again, like hard work, but it's lucky that we had a friend who was willing to make that introduction. Like it's
I did want to ask Erica, you had a lead in this romantic rom-com, and that's where you guys got inspired to write some concepts because you thought, hey, we could do this. So did having a lead help you? Like, because you already had the contact, a reputation, or no, it really was from.
You would think, but
Yeah.
it's when you're starting out in any realm like this, we'd never written anything before. So I reached out to like the production company and I reached out to the director, and she had us, she obviously wanted to help, but she had us kind of like making a poster and maybe we can sell it this way or like maybe format it this way. And then it didn't really go anywhere. So people want to help you, but if they don't have like if it doesn't click with whoever their contact is, then it was all not that it was a waste of time, but it was it was just it didn't,
I get it. It didn't pan out. It was a road, like you did use your contacts to try to push it forward, the project, but they were giving you advice that wasn't really guiding you guys to the right direction. It was sort of not leading in the right direction. And then you ended up using this other contact, and then it made sense and then it clicked. But it wasn't just a obvious, like, well, she's a lead, of course she can write scripts. It was like,
no, right. I don't think they assume that at all. Like, oh, she's done one. Okay. She can write.
But it's also like, we were actually talking to Richard Dumont about this too, is like, as a voice director, he had seen an actor, like he has seen so many scripts. So like he understood the bones of it, the structure of it. So you, as well as actors, what. Well,
that's an interesting thing because like at the time that we were working on our first one, and it's true to what Katy said, like the chemistry, like the first time we were writing together, we did like 10 pages and we're like, yes, and we're high-fiving, we're like, that's so good.
Amazing.
Oh, I love that joke. And so you're like, it's like a high, like you really like we like it.
Yeah.
But wait, that was not my point.
Well, that's okay.
We were writing this very cookie cutter, like this is what they want. It was girl goes back to small town, meets contractor who's helping save library gets saved. And this is what they want. And then, we were done the script and they're like, actually, we're kind of moving away from that. And like, now we're sort of looking at maybe something in a city. And we're like, oh, okay, well, we can do that too. But we've written this perfect Hallmark movie. And they're like, that's just not what we're doing anymore. So you also have to pivot depending on what the market's at.
Oh, yeah. I like that. So your first script that you guys thought was perfect and the exact formula, they were like, it's fine, but it's not what we want. And you had to just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's still sitting in our computer.
Oh, good. So it'll come back.
Yes, if anyone's listening who wants to make it. Yeah, really cute.
Well, listen, I literally have so many ideas. I'm going to start with the Actors House reality show. And then I'll start and then I'll buy your script and go back to like the traditional.
Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. This is the beginning of your producing conglomerate.
You see? Now, yeah.
Exactly.
Jess is totally inspired.
I'm also going to be doing dinner theater again.
Oh, great.
That was Richard. Yeah.
You're busy.
I'm really busy.
So
it's crazy. Okay.
So I think a little bit just on does being an actor kind of like help with the writing process? I think sometimes it does. And then sometimes it's a bit of and I don't think it ever hinders us. It's good because we can appreciate what it's like to be inside the story. So we're creating the story, but we also, I found sometimes in like these movie of the weeks and these like holiday films, I have a lot of friends who do them, Erica included, and sometimes the actors are more familiar with the characters than like the director even is.
Right.
And sometimes you find little inconsistencies and because you understand what it's like to try to embody that character. So I think sometimes we get really diligent about like, would the character do that? Like, does this make sense at this point in their journey?
Making the character sound like a human being.
Yes.
So many lines where you're like, can I say this out loud? And maybe a writer who's not an actor might be like, I believe the words you're looking for, OMG. I'm stealing that from Vampire Diaries because I remember looking at that line and being like, oh, I can't believe they made it.
Yeah.
But you know, like would a person say that?
Right.
And how would an actor be able to deliver this? So that helps for sure. Because we do readings of our scripts every time we're writing. So we're like, how does it sound? You know?
Yeah.
Which turns out is quite important. And you get preliminary notes from the development team where you're like, oh, they clearly didn't get that joke, or they clearly didn't understand what this line means. Which also it's an eye-opener as a writer, because you're like, okay, I have to make this more clear, or like get better direction in the stage direction. Yeah.
Cool.
Are you ever, you write it and then an actor takes it in a different direction, but you're like, oh my God, we didn't even think of that, but that was awesome?
Yeah, I think
no. They're like,
well,
really.
there's one person, we love her. We'll give a shout out to Rhiannon Fish, our muse. She's done 2 of our movies now, and I love what she does with our words. Like, I think we've actually spoken over Instagram messages before, because I just wanted to be like, you understand us, like you get our writing, you understand. I understand.
I thought she started it. I thought she was like, I love you guys.
Oh, right. So yeah, so it's a mutual love fest, because she was like, I just want to say like how much I relate to your scripts. Like, she does a lot of these, and she was like, it's very rare that you can find someone like a script where it sounds like something a 30-year-old woman would say. Like, I can tell that you understand what it's like to be these characters. And I think, so I think every time that I understand why certain directors or writers work with the same cast a lot, because sometimes someone just gets your work. And I feel like when I watch her do our stuff, I'm like, yeah, she gets it. She gets it.
I should have thought of her. And also, it's like we try to write with humor. Like, we want to write with humor. Sometimes we are asked to tone it down, but sometimes we can keep it. And when you get someone like her who actually like understands the comedy and like seems to understand the intention behind every line, it like makes that much more of a difference. It really is.
Yeah. Do you guys have any say in the casting, or do you just, it's like script for sale? Bye.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Once they take the script and it's into production, we have nothing more to do with it.
Okay.
I don't even know they're airing sometimes. But most of the time.
Most of the time we don't know. Our babies are off in the world.
Yeah. And but there was one that you guys were both cast in.
Yeah. It was.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, wasn't it the first one? Was it
our
first one? Yes. So we want to know about that. How did that happen?
That's actually funny. I was going to bring it up because that was like I've just gotten off a plane from Mexico, and Katie got like an Instagram from the hair person being like, "It's on." We were like, "What?
What's on?"
Yeah, like we didn't even know that the movie was airing. No one told us, and the hair department person was the one who was like, "Hey, by the way, the movie's airing." We're like, "Oh, where? How do we watch it?" Like, so that was our first one that we sold, and we were so lucky that we got to be in it, thanks to our wonderful agents for really.
So that's what I was going to. Did you ask, like, because someone like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, when they sold Good Will Hunting, it was like part of the deal. They had to be in it. Did you guys have any of that?
We just wanted to sell a movie.
Okay.
I knew we were like in no position to be asking for anything. And then we just like put out. We just said, "Hey, agents, our movie's gonna get made in like 2 or 3 weeks or a month or something." I don't know how long the prep was, but and then they were like, "Okay, you got everything you want. Here you go." Great.
Okay, so because you have a different writing agent, I guess, or was this you guys sold it at that time? So you sold your script with an agent or without an agent at the beginning?
That was before we had an agent.
Okay.
Yeah, we started off with no agent, and now we have one, and it's helpful. Like, I do recommend. It's good. You need to protect yourself and have someone look over.
I won't bore you with contract stories, but it's important to have someone who understands them to look at them.
Okay.
Good to know.
Okay. So you guys sold that script on your own, and then you told your agent, we sold the script. We'd like to be in it. Submit us for it.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
So, and then they went, so you didn't try to get in there. You let your agents then do their job and try to get you in it.
Well, obviously we were like the team knew we were actors, so we had an in. They're like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
we wrote the movie. We're familiar with these people.
Yeah.
But and then yeah, like I don't know what would have happened if we hadn't talked to our agents, because then of course I don't know if they were just saying this, but they're like, you were our first choice anyway. Like we wouldn't have had it any other way.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's true.
You never know. People
Yeah.
talk a lot of talk. But we like to think that yes, that it's the case. But it hasn't happened since. We will say we're still working on it. We've auditioned. We've even auditioned for our projects before. Like we've had to put our words on tape.
How does that feel? Self-taping for your own project?
Pretty humbling, let me tell you.
Especially when you don't get it.
coming off my high horse of being like, well, I guess that we're just doing these forever. Like we're a self-sustaining factory where we write the movie, we star in the movie.
Imagine.
And then like, every other project, they're like, actually, we're going to go this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still working on getting ourselves in another one of our movies. Hopefully soon. We're trying to produce some movies in New Brunswick, actually, that we're hoping that we can be in, since we're producing these ones.
So are you going to work as a local? Are you going to have to work as a local?
Probably, yes. Like, definitely.
No, the town is so excited that like they're like, stay with me.
They'll have people to room with.
Oh my God.
It's so funny.
So funny.
Exciting though.
Yeah.
I did see Erica, your Erica Road is it a mockumentary, would you call it?
Yeah, that's not me.
I know. No,
It's
it's hilarious. So I was wondering, like, was that like a COVID project? Is that something that we'll see again? Do you want to write more like comedy based stuff?
Katie's gonna kill me.
I'm gonna murder her. I'm the biggest Erica Rhodes fan, and she just refuses to give us more content, and it makes me mad.
No, it's great. It's hilarious.
First of all, just on the fact that that's not me, I think it was like a person who really likes Hallmark, and like they messaged me and they were like, hey, did you change your name? Like, I just watched your documentary. It's like so good. Like, oh no.
Documentary.
I didn't get married and change my name. I just but
I mean, that's how like authentic and real it is, Erica, that like people think it's you.
We actually shot a second episode. I don't know what Jesse Camacho and I are like the brains behind it, and we're both really bad at follow through. So like I don't know how long it took us to get that first episode done, but like we've had a second episode sort of almost ready for a very, very long time. So maybe we'll put it out there. And yeah, we have like a lot of scripts. Like we have a lot of good ideas. It's just not to deter young filmmakers, but God, it is hard. Like just to do everything on your own. That's why I love acting and writing, because you don't really have to take on
paperwork,
responsibility of like contracts and dealing with ACTRA and getting insurance. There's a lot of grunt work that creatives just aren't cut out for. So we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of tangible stuff for Erica Rhodes to do in the future. So if anyone wants to come on board and produce it for us,
Jess, hint, you've been talking about it.
Wow. My roster of projects is really growing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Excited to have you on board, Jess. Oh my God. We'll have a team meeting next week.
Perfect. Seeing the time, so we will start to wrap it up. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm curious to know, you both started acting at a really young age. Do you remember what your maybe like definition of success was then versus what it is now, or your goals? Like, have they changed? Like, did you ever imagine yourselves as writers before? Like, yeah. So like, tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think what I thought I would be doing at this point in my life is very different than what I'm doing, but I find this so fulfilling, and creating our own stuff and writing. I never actually thought that I would be a writer. That was never, I always loved writing, and I feel like I have an imaginative brain, so I was always coming up with stories, but I didn't imagine I'd be writing. But I've definitely realized, I think this is so, I hate this part of me, but I thought when I was young that you could just sustain yourself with acting, that there was a possibility that I could grow up and just be an actor.
Yeah.
And I don't think, not only for financial reasons, I also just don't think that you can't put everything on acting, something that is so unstable and so unpredictable. I think you can be an actor, and like, I'm a consistently working actor, and that's wonderful, and I feel so fulfilled by that. But you need something else to do in between those jobs. Everyone does. Like Reese Witherspoon has 1,000 other projects going, because you can't just be focusing on something that is, it's not sustainable. Something can happen. COVID happens, and then what? A writer's strike happens, and then what? You like find something else creative that you can do. It can be creative. You know, I know one actor just opened a pizza place with her partner. Other actors, you know, have like an arts and crafts business. Like, it's important to just have something else that you can do that makes you feel fulfilled. And we are so lucky to have writing, and that it's working out for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also that pays.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that you have to diversify your life so much, but it's great. I'm happy that I have this other outlet for my creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that when you're young and you're like, I want to be an actor, you're the only thing you ever think is like, I'm going to be Brad Pitt. And but Brad Pitt also owns a lot of other side businesses. Like,
yes, everyone does.
It's just good to have other things. And I had an acting teacher in Toronto at one point be like, it can't just be this, you know, like if you're putting that much pressure on it, you're kind of suffocating it, versus like this art form that you enjoy and that you get, you know, paid to do sometimes, and then sometimes you don't, and you tape and it was good, and you're like, I'm gonna win the Academy Award for best self-tape, and, and no one will ever see it. But yeah, like it's so I don't think you could ask anybody, or I don't think anybody at a young age who had like a trajectory for themselves, not even in this industry, but in anything, being like, yes, it worked out exactly the way I thought it would. But yeah, we're just really lucky. And I wanted to be a writer when I was a kid. Like I let that go when I started acting, because I was like, well, I can't do both. But you can, and
you can,
and I love writing. So yeah, we've been really fortunate to be able to be so creative, and we have a routine, which is nice, because acting for that, it's nice.
And I think it's important to switch the way that our minds, we've been like taught to tell ourselves and each other, like, if you get another job, if you have a side hustle, then it's like you're giving up on acting. I don't think anything could be further from the truth. I think you're allowing yourself to sustain an acting career. You're giving yourself a chance to make this something that you pursue long term. Because I think you can like acting burnout a little bit. Like when you hustle and grind and don't see results, you want to give up a little bit when you don't have anything else on your plate, and you think, never mind, I'm going to throw in the towel. And I think it's realistic, and but it's also, I think, healthy to have something else, and it isn't giving up.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I'm still thinking about what that freaking kid agent told you. Like, it's like you should have activities, because that's what keeps you interested.
Right.
Like, you will get hired because you know how to swim or do ballet. Like, that's exactly what will get you hired as a kid. Because, and even as an adult, like, stay interesting, stay curious, do stuff, because like that will just help feed your acting.
Felix
Yeah.
joked in one of the Camachos, and I'm not sure which, I think it might have been Mark, where
Right.
there's an actor going to, he's walking down the street and he sees his buddy and he's in a full body cast. And he's like, oh my God, what happened to you? And he's like, I was going to an audition the other day and this bus hit me and then this dog started attacking me and then somehow I caught fire and now I'm in a full body cast. And then the guy's, oh my God, that's terrible. What was the audition for?
Totally. That's a very, and so you don't want to be that person. How many scripts have you guys sold? Sought after writing duo?
What are we at? 11?
I think we might be 11. We just signed a contract. Maybe we can't talk about this.
Okay. But
But-
you've seen multiple, you're
11
in
and
the
a half.
double.
11 and a half.
Yeah, and zip
So
it at
good.
that point. So, well, that's the next question I wanted to ask you. What is down the pipeline for you guys? And do you have from what's tangible goals to the big dream? Do you have the big dream?
Yeah.
Let's go first.
We know what the big dream is.
Say it.
Well, I mean, it's the show. It's a show, right?
I don't know. What's going on now, which you can kind of see behind me, is we're
okay.
outlining this project. We're not sure what form it's going to take. It could be a mini series, it could be one feature, but it's this really fun story that takes place in this town called St. Andrews in New Brunswick, and we're kind of creating a world out there, an entire. We're taking the town and all of its quirky and interesting inhabitants, and we want to just explore a million different stories and perspectives.
Nice.
And so we're putting together a project that's going to be a holiday romance seen from 3 different perspectives. And it's definitely, we've been working in the MOW world. That's all we know so far. So this is us taking a new leap and branching out. And we want it to be more indie. It's more artistic. We're going to have freedom to use the language that we want and not be so constricted by a very effective. Yeah, it's an effective, tried and true formula, but we're branching out of the formula now, and we're really excited about it.
Think less, movie of the week and more Bridget Jones's Diary, a traditional classic rom-com where maybe they can drink.
Or Love Actually or Bridget Jones, that kind of stuff, but in a miniseries or
Valentine's Day meets a Schitt's Creek sort of thing.
Totally.
Maybe.
Wow. Let's come on the marketing team. Get over here. We have another job for you.
Okay, great.
I think St. Andrews might be a little insulted if we compared their town to
That's great.
Well, more that was in my head because you're we're taking this town and taking it for all of it. That's why.
1,000%. No, it is a good comparison because we are taking Canadian, and we want to make Canadian stories and bring those to the mainstream a bit more. Yeah. But taking the interesting townsfolk and just having fun with that world.
Thank you.
Yeah, very inspiring.
It's nice to come back to our roots where it all began.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Very cool. Well, thanks again. And
thank you.
Stay in touch. Keep us posted on your plans, and
we'll make you promote our upcoming films and in your future episodes.
Yes, absolutely. Whatever you need from us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So for today's takeaways, trust your gut and lean into the weird. 2, taking a second job doesn't mean giving up. It gives you a chance to sustain your acting. 3, be excited about your talent. People want to see what you can do. And 4, take the leap. Just do it. You'll learn along the way. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
If you're enjoying this podcast, we would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to support us.
Leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. You can share this podcast with your friends and colleagues, and follow us on social media at Book the Room Podcast.
We put out episodes weekly, so subscribe to the shows to